Hey, hello. Let's getting started. Economists, as myself, that we study, use, let's say that the different models and then different assumptions to test those theories. So for example, that I work on those landscape, environmentally friendly landscape with also like to test that the homeowners preference, their perceptions. I mean, in terms of the adoption of those alternative landscapes. So in this case that we assume, let's say that they will have very specific preference regarding different landscape design ratios, for example. But in that case that we test whether those, let's say their demographics or their, let's say, incomes, for example, that will affect their adoption decision. I mean, keep it simple. But on the other side of that, we have to use a lot of assumption to test those our hypothesis in this case. But most of you, I understand, most of you won't become economists as your profession in the future. So economics is very important. Or it's for me, this is a very common topic. Everyone needed to understand something. Although you might not be a full-time economist, but this is important. Why? The knowledge is, the economic knowledge is about how this economy or this society is running, is operating. But now the problem now I realize it's about the individuals, like or like say that the students, they get off the school, they get off the classroom after studying economics. So they have two issues or two problems. The first problem is the mindset problem. The second problem is the skill set problem. Let me explain you this. Most of the people like become, like a management role, play a management role. So you needed to understand the market. You needed to know that to understand how this macroeconomic situation will or what if affect your business, right? So then you make the informed decision. And then it can be, regarding the operation of production, or I mean, individually, very simple, that it will very largely affect your job searching, okay? So, but now the mindset problem is about, people are not ready, their mind is not ready. What does that mean? That let me put it this way. Most people, they will think that I'm not smart enough. I don't want to learn more. I just, live a regular life and then just make some money and then have a, family, whatever. But I think that this is a wrong mindset, because that keep this in mind. We need to have a so-called the growth mindset. I included a video. Carol Dweck, she gave a very good presentation speech regarding growth of mindset. So that one is very important. Why I say so? You need to believe that your ability can be improved or can be developed. Very simple example, like your muscle. You can build your muscle, you can train your body, and then to let's say to get get to another level, another higher level. I am like running a lot recently because I'm training myself for the marathon, and I learned, or I get this point completely, because every time you think you cannot make it, and eventually if you persist, if you keep working on it, you will get it done. So the same apply to our economic studies. It's more like if you don't really believe yourself, you give up earlier, and then this will cause a big problem. You stay at the origin, you don't improve, or your ability doesn't improve. If you believe you can do so, you can achieve a higher level. You keep working on it. Although it can be very challenging, but it can be difficult at the beginning. But later on, you will see, you will observe your own development. And then let me tell you the second problem I have seen. This is about, I mentioned about the skill set. How to understand. You might understand those definitions, those theories, like from the book, from this lecture. But honestly, you understand, you can, work on those problem sets, you understand everything, you memorize everything, but you cannot apply this in the real scenario, real life scenarios. That's very problematic. Why? You learn this. and then you needed to make it become part of your own ability. Again, this is your own ability. And then based upon those knowledge and then those skills that you started to, collect the useful information, analyze those information, and then, evaluate. And then probably you have heard about the development of critical thinking, right? So although I don't use that, but I call this a Bloom taxonomy, another theory, another model to show you how important, in class and then out of class. I will show you later, but now it's more like I just want to mention you, this is important that you need to build up your skill set, not only on those knowledge, but you need to understand how to apply those knowledge, make it become your skill set. And then once you get out of the school, you get the job, and then immediately you know that how you analyze those information, how you apply your knowledge, analyze those information, and then draw some conclusion. Let me turn this to another, let's say, slide. This guy, John Keynes, he is a very famous economist. Let's say that his contribution was in the Great Depression, that 1929 to 1933. So he's very famous because he, more like promote the government stepping, implementing those fiscal policies, monetary policy to intervene the economy. But what he mentions about the, economics is not about those, what are those definitions. Do you know what is GDP? Do you know what means about the inflation? No, that's not. That definition is not the most important part. Also, you needed to understand. You needed to somehow, know what it's about, right? But our value is based upon that, and then, apply those things, and then to develop your critical thinking or develop your own skill set. Okay, so it's more like you need to be able to analyze. You need to be able to evaluate, and then you need to come up with your own opinion. So in my own word, I would call it, based upon this information, how or whether you can predict the near future. This can be applied very simply. This can be applied to the stock market. You have so many information, recently or historically, but whether you can base upon those and then predict the near future, all right? Whether the stock market increase, decrease, for individual stock, it's increase, decrease, and then you can realize there are so many opportunities, even speculating opportunities there. The same applies to the real estate market. I will mention a lot of those money issues, but let me save it a little bit late. But anyway, so I want you, like the future potential manager, so to understand, not learning those definitions, not learning the what, to learn how. Economics. So actually, simply that I use the circular flow diagram to show you everything, including, first of all, including everything in either microeconomics or macroeconomics. So as I mentioned in the previous lecture, so if we combine everyone together at this aggregate level, this become macro, right? So if I talk about the individual, this is micro. So although that you will see that this is more like economic activities, what is happening, that in this society or in this economy in the US, and then it's pretty much like the goods flow, or let's say the labor flow. Why I say so? So it's more like you offer, let's start with C. You started the labor service, you sell your labor. Let me keep it as simple as possible, right? You receive wage, you receive, salary or income, and then you spend those money to buy the goods and service, right? So you pay to business, you pay to, let's say, a Sam's Club, or like say that the Publix, and then you get the goods and service back. So this is more like this included in this circular flow easily. But this is everything about. So as I just, we like to use, the simple sentence, what you're gonna do, and then with what you got, right? So we face first of all, we have demand, we have the supply. Although this is more like, you can, talk about the goods, service, you can talk about the labor, but this is exactly, we can use this diagram to describe the whole situation. Again, this is the knowledge, but not yet. I haven't hit this, the mindset, the right mindset, and then the right skill set, right? So those two sets I needed to explain you a little bit late to kind of integrate into our lectures. Traditional economy, as he says, that this is more like the Asian, version. We call it agricultural economy. And then this is more like people, not really stay at home, but they are doing agricultural, let's say, activities. They are not really, they don't have very developed the financial system. They just, trade, goods by goods, right? So this is more like a small business, let's say family-based business, and it's not, let's say that industrialized. The second one is about the command economy, or let's say use another word, it's like a planned economy, such as like China and then North Korean. So the government controls everything, right? So they would plan what to offer, what to produce, and then what, like the people or the citizens can purchase. So very likely, since they have this so-called the planned economy, that they will issue some sort of voucher. I mean, either by meat or by rice that use this voucher. Long time ago, I remember that in China that we use a lot of voucher. So, but then this is more like a kind of replaced by the, those some free market economy. So the US is the one that we have the so-called the market economy, right? So it's easy to understand. It's, decentralized according the free market makes the decision, and then all the private owned business, like also the government play the role, but government is more like supporting the system, supporting the economy running. There is a self-interest, or there are invisible hands behind that to drive the economy, to optimize the operation. US is the good example. And then, people usually use like the stock market, the stock exchange market, or like the commodity market, the future market, to show that how free, how competitive those market is. You are free to buy or sell, and you take the responsibility, you take the risk. The market make the decision, okay? Not the government make the decision, the market. And then everyone like you, me, we are the players in this market. We follow the market rules, okay? But nowadays, like there are those economies are like, usually they combine together. That's not really like the market economy or the command economy or the planned economy. So this is like a combined. Why? Because like we have seen that those public goods, we talk about the public goods like this healthcare, like the national defense, those are more like we needed the government to step in, play the role, also including the education. But anyway, so there are like, also they are combined or different, but usually there's like which economy, let's say, format is dominant. So in the US, very likely it's market oriented, it's dominated by the free market or competitive market. But like, like Asian countries like China or whatever, those countries, they play like half and half. So half government, it dominate, they have the market dominant. Okay, so here they use the example of China and Russia. So typically that I would say that North Korea is more towards that let's say the command economy. So we are running like the trade deficits for many years with China. And what our president is like promote, it's more like to reduce this deficits by, how to say, impose those tariffs on, to China's imports, whatever. But then because of this coronavirus pandemic, then everything changed. Why I say so? Because now we realize we moved so many productions because of this globalization. We move a lot of production outside of this country. And then all of a sudden, we realize we shut off, this healthcare products, face masks, PPEs, everything, almost even ventilators, medical, even medicines, right? So now it's the time to rethink about what does this globalization mean? So this become a big lesson learned. And then although I don't think they make the clear decision now, but it's more like we will move on. Let's wait and see what will be happening, okay? So some of this definition, I don't think it's necessary to repeat, one and one, but I think that for this class, I recommend you to watch the video I just mentioned, Carol Dweck's Growth of Mindset. That one is the first step to prepare our mindset. Today, I just start here, and I see you next time. Thank you.